ليكن يومك للشعب ودادا ليكن حبك للأرض مداد قلم أنت فكم عبرت عنا وبنيت المجد أطوادا شداد أنت يا ملهم شعب.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. In this episode, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we shall be looking at the consequentiality of greeting in Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وإذا حييتم بتحية فأحيوا بأحسن منها أو ردوها. Meaning, when you are greeted in a particular way, whether you are greeted religiously or culturally, فَأَحْيُوا بِأَحْسَنَ مِنْهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, it is incumbent on you, on us, to return the greeting in a better way. وَإِذَا حُيِّيتُمْ بِتَحِيَّةٍ. If you are greeted in a particular way, فَأَحْيُوا بِأَحْسَنَ مِنْهَا. Return it better than the way you were greeted. Awurudduha. If you would not do it like that, then you should return it as exactly the way you were greeted. You should return it. This is an indication that greeting is something that is fundamental in Islam. This is an indication that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not take with a pinch of salt what is called morality. In another verse of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala emphasized the significance of greeting before entering someone else's house. In Surah An-Nur, it says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا, you who have believed, لا تدخلوا بيوتا غير بيوتكم حتى تستأنسوا. Do not enter the house of another person except and until you had been permitted to do so. وَتُسَلِّمُوا عَلَى أَهْلِهَا وَتُسَلِّمُوا عَلَى أَهْلِهَا. Ensure that the person or the persons living there are greeted. It is a display of an attitude for a Muslim not, to greet people. It doesn't make sense at all. The Prophet ﷺ was not known for that. When we talk about greeting, we are talking about three things. Greeting culturally, if it is not against Islam, then as Muslims, we are duty bound to return the greeting, to respond well. For instance, in Yoruba land, it is common to hear people say "Ẹ káàárọ̀" in the morning, in the afternoon "Ẹ káàsán," in the evening, in the night "Ẹ káalẹ́," "Ẹ kú ìrọ̀lẹ́," and so on and so forth. All these do not contradict the injunctions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is right to greet people culturally if it is not against al-Islam. That is one. Number two, greeting corporately. Of course, where you work, there may be ways through which greeting is done. If it is not against Islam, then that is okay. And the third one, which is the most important, is greeting religiously, spiritually. Greeting with what? Salam. Assalamu alaikum. The Prophet ﷺ was reported to have said, Inna awla nasi billahi man bada'ahum bis salam. The closest person to Allah is the one who is always quick to greet with salam. The closest person to Allah is the one who is quick to say Salamu alaikum. Allahu Akbar. That's the closest person to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Somebody once asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ayyul Islami khair? What is the best thing that can be done as a Muslim? And then he said, to ta'imu ta'am. It is for him to feed the needy, the poor. وَتَكْرَأُ السَّلَامِ عَلَى مَنْ عَرَفْتَ وَمَنْ لَمْ تَعْرِفْ. The next thing is for you to do what? To greet with salam. Greet those you know and those you do not know. They are Muslims, greet them. Salamu alaikum. Somebody got to the Prophet ﷺ one day and said, Assalamu alaikum. The Prophet ﷺ responded, Wa alaikum assalam. And he said, Ashara, your reward is 10. Another person said, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. He responded and he said, your reward is what? Inshurun, 20. Another person, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. He responded and then he said, Thalathun, your reward is 30. The meaning of this is that the least reward that one will get from greeting the Islamic way is what? 10. That is the least. So if you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, that makes it 20. You say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, that makes it what? 30. This is an indication that greeting is fundamental in Islam. In fact, even in the paradise, in Jannah, the inmates of Jannah would also greet one another with what? Salam. Allah says, Da'wahum fiha subhanakallahumma wa tahiyyatuhum fiha salam wa akhiru da'wahum anil hamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says their greeting in Jannah, in paradise, is what? Salam. Wa tahiyyatuhum fiha salam. Assalamu alaikum. So it is not good for a Muslim to take greeting with a pinch of salt, especially the young ones to the elderly. The Prophet ﷺ said, لِيُسَلِّمُ الصَّغِيرُ عَلَى الْكَبِيرِ. The small ones, the young ones, should greet the elderly first. لِيُسَلِّمُ الصَّغِيرُ عَلَى الْكَبِيرِ. So it is an act of immorality for a Muslim, a young Muslim, not to greet the elderly Muslims. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us his understanding. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
جامع الأشتات أنت مذ عرفناك تحب القوم جمعا لا فرادا في خليج ومحيط عرفوا زيك ذاك الشهم من بالبذل